Not everyone has the luxury of a large garden. In today's episode, we look at how easy it is to grow plants in small spaces. If you live in an apartment, condo, or just don't have enough space for a garden, these tips will help you set up your own small space garden. Now, bush beans are a variety of beans that grow into small plants, not huge plants or vining plants like the pole beans, but are just as productive. And here you can see we are using the small containers. You can get them easily at your local stores, your dollar stores, IKEA, Walmart. All of them carry these kind of containers. And we are growing these burgundy beans. You can see here the plant is very small. And with this just a small container, you can easily grow beans. As you can see here, this is a productive plant for the space that it's occupying. And this will keep producing for a long time. You can see the yellow wax beans as well here. So for all those of you who are planning to grow their own beans, all you need is like about 10 inches by 6 inches of growing space, some access to sunlight. This plant does need sunlight. It needs full sun, at least about 8 hours of sun every day. So even if you're growing this in a patio or a balcony, it should grow pretty well. And you can harvest a lot of beans. I was able to harvest about 3 to 4 times the amount of beans that you're seeing here, because the bush beans are productive. They don't vine out, they don't grow large, they don't need any support as well, but they do produce a lot. As you can see here, this was a harvest just for one day, but this is enough for a small meal. And as you just saw, it's really easy to grow this vegetable in small spaces. Next, let's take a look at cilantro. Now, you can easily grow them in greenhouses and then transplant them later into small containers. Here I'm also going to show you how you can direct sow these seeds into the same small containers. These are Rubbermaid containers that we got at Walmart, and they're about $2 each. Very cheap and pretty durable. It resists the outside sun pretty well. As you can see here, the plants have now germinated. But it's very easy to grow cilantro in this kind of a small container. They do need watering. Make sure that in small containers the plants always stay watered. And you can see here they've grown really well, and you can keep harvesting them. They will regrow, and it's just easy. And you can even grow them in aluminum trays. I have discussed this in one of my previous episodes as well. It's very easy to get aluminum trays. We usually get our trays from Costco. They're pretty cheap. And once you get these trays, just fill them up with sand and some compost. As you can see here, it's the cheapest way to get a planting medium. Just mix up soil and compost and then thin them once they grow a little tall. So that way you can space out your plants pretty well. Keep them watered very well all the time. And as you can see, it's very easy to grow them. And you can use the same technique. Once they grow up, you can just harvest them by pinching the stems and harvesting them. And by doing so, the plant will produce more leaves. And once you plant cilantro, you can harvest it for at least about a month or 2 months. So I recommend that you keep planting these in succession so that you get a constant supply of cilantro in your garden. Now let's look at our vertical garden, which I have discussed in detail in one of my previous episodes. This shelving unit can be easily acquired at any utility store in your area, like a Home Depot or Lowe's. And as you can see here, we are growing 4 onion bulbs in this container. And no matter what type of onions you grow, the bulbs will be much smaller when you grow them in smaller containers. But as you can see here, I'm hardly using any space to grow these onions. But these bulbs have formed very well. And for those of you who do not have a lot of space, you can easily use this method to grow great onions As you can see here, a decently sized bulbs. And you can actually keep one plant in every tier of a shelving unit like this, and it really helps you expand your growing area. So this kind of a vertical growing approach is great for a lot of plants, and we just saw some really good onions being harvested. Now, radish is one of the most common plants that you can grow in small spaces. As you can see here, we're using the same growing boxes, small ones, and there are some types of radish that grow very well in such containers, small containers. This variety is the burpy white radish. I will try to post a video profile of this radish later. And this is the crimson red radish. There is a similar variety called scarlet globe as well. So these are winter radishes, which mean that they mature very quickly within about 30 to 40 days and grow in very small spaces. So if you like radish and if you don't have a lot of space to grow, you can easily grow them in trays like these. And they are very productive. I mean, most of these radish plants will produce a good sized root, so you can't really go wrong. And you can keep planting these in succession as well. So if you have small spaces, just stack them up. Once they germinate, move them to an open area where they can grow their leaves. But the leaves are so short that you can easily grow them in almost any kind of space. Now, even though I have some decent sized growing area, I still use this technique. I keep these boxes on the elevated space that you see here, which doesn't really have any plants growing, and I can easily grow these radishes in such a small area, which really adds a lot of value to the garden. And just like radish, you can even grow turnips in small areas. Now, turnip is an interesting vegetable. If you haven't planted it, you should try it out. Some people even grow turnip to replace potatoes in some of their recipes, and I'm not sure if that works out very well. I don't think turnips replace potatoes completely, but it's an interesting option. So try it out. Try growing this vegetable, see how it tastes, see if you like eating it. So again, we are growing this in the small boxed container that you see here, and you can grow up to 6 turnips in one container. So just direct sow the seeds, and that's one of the benefits of growing in small space containers like these, is that you can grow them by direct seeding the seeds. As you can see them very clearly, you can thin them once they germinate. All this is very easy when you're growing in smaller containers. Now, the only thing that you need to remember once again is that make sure that they are well hydrated, that you water the plants well, and you can harvest some great turnip. As you can see here, within just about 3 to 4 weeks. Turnips grow very fast. I was able to harvest this within a month or so. Just like radish, turnips are a great option to grow in small spaces. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode on growing plants in small spaces. And if you don't have a large garden or the space to grow a lot, I hope this episode encourages you to grow more of your own. We'll see you again soon. Happy gardening.